person talking about love, thine brother is the preacher. And it seems nobody's interested in learning but the teacher.
Hey, so we're at Elite Performance Center. So we're at 24-hour fitness.
That's rude. So we're at Curves King City.
Crunch.
Boom.
Planet Fitness.
Pow.
LA Fitness.
Orange Theory. That's a new thing. Yeah.
Curves.
I already said Curves.
Body by Best thing.
Anytime Fitness.
Tiger CrossFit.
Savage Conditioning.
Yeah.
Conditioning.
We're at the badge.
Conditioning.
Something.
Condescending.
You know I don't speak Spanish.
Okay.
We're making it T-Rain.
T-Rain.
It's good. We're literally making fun of my livelihood.
Yeah.
It's better than anal beast CrossFit.
Hey, we're here with Chalk Talk. We're here at Chalk Talk with Savage Gym and T-Raining. We're going to talk about another lift rescue. Today, what are we going to talk about, Jaron?
We're going to talk about the Stiff-Leg Deadlift and the Romanian Deadlift and the differences between the two and how you can use both of those variations to help build your deadlift.
Did you say stiff?
Stiff.
Stiff. So we're going to do some stiff stuff today.
And you get a bigger booty.
Yeah.
You get a booty?
How's it going, everybody? So first we're going to go over the RDL. So the RDL is the Romanian deadlift, for those of you that don't know. It's similar to the straight leg deadlift. The biggest difference is you cannot bring the bar all the way to the ground. It's only going to go partially down, so it's going to keep that strain on your posterior, or it's going to keep that pressure on your posterior chain a lot more, help you build those glutes a lot more. It's a good accessory for your deadlift movement. So you're going to go ahead, set up like you're doing just your regular deadlift. Go ahead and grab it here. And you can deadlift it up if you've got a heavier weight. I'm just going to come to just to here, keeping my legs pretty much straight, and then just back up. The keys on this, keep that back flat, and really load up those glutes and those hamstrings and fire through. For me, I use the RDLs in my training as a deadlift accessory. I use it a lot to help build up my glutes and my posterior chain. So it's just that little bit of overload training after I've done all of my squats or something like that. I'll generally do it on a squat day. I don't necessarily do it on a deadlift day because I've already done my deadlifting, hitting my hamstrings and all that stuff. So I'll add it in on a squat day as an accessory for my squat day to just help make my deadlift stronger. And I'm already fatiguing my posterior chain doing squats. I'm just putting the nails in the coffin of my training, so to speak, with the RDLs. When I'm doing my RDLs, I want to do lighter weight, higher reps to really fatigue those hamstrings and that posterior chain and really just get everything nice and worn out. Just that's how I feel you're going to build the best strength. I don't necessarily think that you're going to get a lot out of going super heavy because you're focusing strictly on your lower back and your posterior chain and your glutes and things like that. Going really heavy on an RDL is not necessarily the best idea, I think. For me personally, that's why I just try to keep it lighter and do a lot more reps. So I'll generally do 3 to 15 or 4 to 10 reps. Sometimes I'll do 20, kind of just feel it out how I feel for the day.
So another variation is going to be the Stiff-Leg Deadlift. Unlike the RDL, this one does actually start and stop at the floor. I like to keep the Stiff-Leg Deadlifts trained from a dead stop each time, and I do actually like to use this movement a little bit heavier to kind of overload the glutes and the hamstrings and also really dial in locking out the deadlift with the hips rather than with the lower back. So that's kind of where I find that this is the most valuable. So to set up for the Stiff-Leg Deadlift, you're going to take pretty similar to your conventional deadlift stance. We want to focus on rooting to the floor by grabbing into the ground with your toes and externally rotating at the knees to kind of open up the hips and get the glutes firing before you even initiate the lift. Hinge backwards at the hips, keeping a minimal amount of bend into the knees. Pull the slack out of the bar to lock the lats. Big breath into the belly. And drive hips. Lock. Hips through. What this is going to do is it's going to still allow you to overload your posterior chain, but really places that emphasis on that lockout portion of the lift and really driving through with the glutes. So another variation is to do this from a deficit. These mats are about 3/4 of an inch thick, so I'll do this typically anywhere from a 2 to maybe 3.5, 4 inch deficit. What this is going to do is just give you extra range of motion for the hamstrings. And really work on driving from the floor with the hips and working on that leg drive.
So we covered some stiff leg deadlifting and RDLs. How would I incorporate that into my programming if I was trying to maximize my deadlifting or pulling?
I think with the RDL that Jeff covered, I like to use that a lot for somebody who needs to really work on building some muscle in through their posterior chain, just because that lighter weight and those higher reps are really going to help you work on that hip hinging pattern. Plus you're under tension for a lot longer, so it's going to really allow you to build up your glutes, your hamstrings, and your back. Versus the stiff leg, which I program in heavier, kind of as maybe a second movement on a deadlift day to address somebody who has a hard time really focusing on their lockout coming from the hips.
Okay.
What about you?
That's basically the same way I would do it. I stick a lot more with the RDLs generally because that's what I like to just destroy people with, is using the RDL and keep it that lighter weight, higher reps, just kind of really smash people up. If they do have a problem with the lockout, then it'll be okay. I'll go for a heavier straight leg deadlifts. But the big problem, I generally don't do that many of the straight leg deadlifts in my programming because of it starts to get people too used to using that straight leg for the deadlift.
Incorporate some bad habits.
Right, and so it starts to, so I'll only use that when they're a little bit more advanced and I know that their deadlift form is solid already before I start incorporating in, let's do some straight leg deadlifts, because they're going to start learning bad habits doing straight leg deadlifts from the floor, and they're just going to start going, oh, I'm just going to straight leg deadlift everything.
Yeah, I definitely think that the stiff leg has the potential to kind of reinforce a bad habit. It's also a lot harder to hold that position. So unless you're already pretty skillful at really bracing your core and keeping your back locked in, it is going to be a more dangerous variation because you are training it heavier, and you have to really be able to differentiate between a stiff leg deadlift and just a bad conventional deadlift. Right. So probably for most people, the RDL is going to be the better option because it's lighter weight, and you're really focusing on learning that hinging pattern from the hips and really firing through with the glutes. So, you concur?
Awesome. I concur.
All right.
And I pretty much walk around stiff-legged anyway, so.
How's that working for you?
Good. My deadlift's off the chain.
Off the hook.
Floor.
You could choose a chain or a hook, and it would not be on either. Sounds right.
You want to do curls?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do it. Check out Shock Talk 503 at YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Don't disappoint me.
You always got to get a bro session in at some point.